Hello, hi
Hi.
guys. It is the 2nd of April, so we are on lucky day 13 of lockdown. Chris and Ellie here again, and I don't really believe in all sorts of superstitious nonsense, but for me, 13 has been a bit significant, because you know how I've kept saying that I think we're getting into the swing of this. Well, today I've cried 3 times over very little. So I think maybe I was in a little bit of a denial bubble. And actually sort of a little bit of it drip fed in. And so yes, a bit of an emotional roller coaster today, which poor Chris has handled like a little trooper. Yeah, literally crying over nothing. So it's not even worth going into why I was crying. I just kept crying over nothing. So that's fun. So I think that is a sign that maybe the sort of emotional side of all of this is sort of dripping through. Maybe feeling a little bit of the weight of the uncertainty of everything going forward, I think, is mainly what I'm struggling with. Yeah, so it's been an odd one. So I'll maybe go to the sort of bigger stuff and then we'll go into the smaller stuff, because like I say, nothing specific has really happened, but just in terms of sort of how we're handling stuff. But as a sort of nice thing, today it's Thursday today, so again at 8 p.m. today there was the clap for carers, which this week was even better attended than last week. Definitely in our street there were lots of people. We could see up and down the road there was a family a few doors up with a little one banging on the pots and pans. We were making more noise than we did last week because we had tools this time, and yeah, we could basically see several houses that had people standing outside the front of their house, so who were still social distancing, but it was better than I think doing it in the windows, because you couldn't really tell.
Even some fireworks this time.
Yeah, fireworks were going off, which was a bit strange because actually the clocks have changed, so it's actually still kind of light at 8 p.m. It's getting dark, but yeah, so it was definitely people like doing. It was lovely actually. I thought that was really nice. And one thing that made it a little bit more what's the word? Potent for me anyway, was just incidentally going about her job. I don't know what she was doing, but there was a lady in one of the ambulance cars. So it wasn't like an ambulance that you go in the back of, but it's like how sort of paramedics and NHS staff gad about on healthcare business. So there was a lady coming out of one of those ambulance cars, thankfully nice to see in full protective gear. So she was actually standing sort of out beside the back of her car getting herself kitted up, and then getting something out of the back of her car and went into a neighbour's house for whatever purposes. I hope all is well there. No way of knowing, and it's not the time to knock on the door and ask, so I hope all is well. But bless her, she happened to be walking from her car to her house at 8 p.m. when everybody in the street was applauding her, and bless her, I think she looked a little embarrassed.
It's a little bit self-conscious.
Yeah.
It must be, because everyone's doing it's a very nice gesture, but I haven't heard anything necessarily from nurses or doctors or people, not just people hearing about it, but being directly kind of accosted.
Yeah, I think that's something, well, because most people are in their house, I doubt too many people are being directly accosted as they're going about their business.
I have seen a doctor or a nurse who's a neighbour, it's probably quite nice for them, because they can kind of listen at their windows and hear it if they're not literally
working.
Work.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help but feel there was a part of her going, oh, so I just want to get through this shift and put a fag on and watch the telly. And
bless.
A bit much, but I
think she did look a little self-conscious, but I think overall, like, she looked a bit self-conscious, probably because just everybody's eyes were on her when nobody really likes that. But I did give a big thank you, and she went. But actually that was sort of one of the things that nearly choked me up. Like I said, it didn't take much today, but yeah, I got a little bit choked up and felt a little bit tearful over that. And I think it was just the sort of sense of there's real people just doing this day in, day out, and it's relentless and bonkers. So that was a nice thing, and yeah, it was nice to see, I think, more people not only taking part but wanted to be more visibly taking part. So whereas last week there were some people in windows you could hear but you couldn't see, I think this week quite a lot of people stood on their doorsteps and sort of making a bit more of a visible show, which was nice to see. And as I said, I think previously, I think this will snowball, and I think it will become a bit of a punctuating ritual throughout lockdown, certainly. And I hope that we sort of, if not doing the actual thing every Thursday, but just sort of bear in mind the mentality of it and why we're saying thank you and what we're thanking people for. So it was specifically said in the news today that going forward, it isn't just applause for directly NHS staff, but it is for all key workers who are working through all of this to keep things ticking over. So this went down to the teachers, because although schools are closed officially for all sort of students, they are, several of them per city are still running as a childcare hub for people who work in the NHS or are otherwise key workers if they don't have childcare. So they're open, but not as a sort of teaching school type thing. It's more as a childcare for people who really need it. So there are teachers and other school staff that are making that work. Obviously, just people like bin men, people, refuse collectors and things like that. Like lots of these things, people are having to go to work. Postmen actually is another one that we're really relying on because we can't get out and about. A lot of people are ordering a lot more stuff online, and one of the things that's sort of been criticised is that postal workers are still being expected to deliver junk mail at the moment, and basically they're sort of saying that stuff that's not addressed to the householder, I shouldn't be having extra risk to take that up to somebody. So it should be suspended for now. Obviously there may be a chance of, but it's just increasing their risk. Every letterbox that they touch, every letter that they touch, it's and they're not being given protective equipment, and no amount of protective equipment. If you're just constantly touching different things, you'd have to be changing gloves so frequently. And yeah, masks, like in the NHS, because the reason why it's not useful for ordinary members of the public to be wearing gloves and masks is because in healthcare situations there's specific procedures for the way you wear them, how long you wear them, etc. For gloves, for example, latex gloves, you would wear them for one procedure, take them off, throw them away. If a sort of person doing their shopping in gloves is wearing gloves, basically once you've done a couple of aisles, you've touched several items that have been on the shelves, and then you've touched your handle on your trolley, and then maybe you touch your face, and basically the gloves are the same as having your hands. They're not giving you any protection because your gloves might be passing things around up, but so it's not really helpful unless you're going to use the gloves and then discard the gloves and not touch lots of things with the gloves. Same goes for the masks. Basically, after about 15-20 minutes, the amount of moisture from your breath will have made them permeable. So you'll breathe in anything that's in water-based droplets anyway. Again, they are used in the NHS with certain procedural barriers, and yeah, that won't really help you out and about generally. Yes, if you were sort of going from your car to the train, say, yes, maybe under those circumstances, but if you're just wearing them for hours and hours, that's essentially useless. So
bit of good news there.
Yeah, well, it's just sort of the thing that's annoying is people stockpiling them for day-to-day use when they're not really going to do you much good. However, they could be the difference between an NHS worker catching this or not catching this, and even they could catch just the common cold at the moment, but they won't know it's the common cold. They'll have to self-isolate because there's not enough tests. And just having enough PPE might have avoided that. So in an ideal world, there would have been enough for everybody to stockpile if they wanted to, because it makes them feel better. I'm not going to criticise people for stockpiling stuff, because I do get that it's a security blanket. I get why people do it. They're not doing it going, ha ha ha, I'm being a knob. They're doing it because they're scared, and I have sympathy for that. But ultimately, it's not being used where it's needed, and it is being drastically needed elsewhere. So if you are sitting on a big pile of latex gloves and surgical masks, maybe donate them to your nearest healthcare provider instead, because they'll do more good there. But yeah, that's just my my thought on the matter. But So yeah, I do get it. Like, people are scared, and nobody's sort of being a dick deliberately, but this is just bringing out a little bit of dickishness in some people.
I wanted to talk about April Fool's Day.
Oh, okay. We will come to April Fool's Day, but there was just one more thing I wanted to talk about while we were on the NHS, because it's NHS specific. So it's in today's real world news, which is that the government today have announced that they are going to essentially write off 13.6, it's 13 point something, I think it's 13.6 billion in NHS debt, which whatever their reasons and whatever the actuality behind what that is and why they had that debt is, in the short term, in the instant, that will give a huge amount of breathing room for health boards now to have additional spending that they need now. So that's good. Looking at it critically, you could say that essentially they are basically writing off costs that have been a direct result of 10 years of underfunding. To be honest, I don't really think the NHS should have had to go into debt to cover its costs. And that's really been the situation that they've got into. They are in debt because it's not because they've all been giving themselves massive bonuses, it's because they've been buying equipment.
The government is now giving them money that they should have been giving them all along. Basically. That's essentially what's happened. So do not in any way imagine that this is the Tories doing a good job. This is the Tories correcting
They're putting out fires, aren't they? They set the fires, and now they're rapidly trying to put them out without the proper fire extinguishing
This is the Tories washing the sheets of a bed that they shat in. This is what this is. So, this is the least they could be doing, frankly.
Yeah. In the interim, in the short term, it is a good thing. They should have done it anyway, and let's not get into that, because that's a whole lecture on what austerity measures and how ridiculous they've been. But in the short term, that's a good thing that they've done, and I'm glad they've done it, and I'm sure lots of people who work in the NHS are also very glad that they've done it. It's a separate issue as to whether or not that should have needed to happen anyway, but that's a separate issue for another day. But yeah, that was my sort of specific NHS thing that I just wanted to finish while we were on that. So now, April Fools.
Well, because we didn't address it yesterday.
No.
Which was actually April the 1st.
Yes, because we could have been doing an April Fool, but we weren't.
Well, I think a lot of people decided this year, do you know what, everyone's stressing about enough.
Yeah, let's not be mischievous.
But someone did do quite a light-hearted, harmless one. It was a bit of fun. Some guys from a comedy podcast, Comedy Geek sketch podcast, they put up a thing on Facebook saying they've been picked up for an hour special on Netflix, and there's some very professional-looking publicity shots, and totally sucking me in. And
were you pleased? Were you excited about their Netflix special?
I was very pleased.
I don't know who they are. Sorry.
Well, I've actually guested on their podcast.
Oh, nice.
A couple of sketches
I do know that one.
Yeah, you've heard it. I have heard it. So I would have been pleased for them because they're lovely people. I would have been pleased because I could have probably found some way to
crowbar that into your publicity.
My publicity materials. And but yeah, it probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of you, but completely suckered me in. So well done to those guys. But also, I'll just mention, as they suck me in, well done, I'll just give them a plug here and say, go and listen to their podcast. It's very funny.
I will also plug them. I will give them a tag on YouTube. How's that? Go. Comedy Geek. There we go.
Sketch podcast. So.
Comedy Geek. There we go. Cool. Well done. I didn't get got by anyone.
No.
I saw a couple that were doing the rounds that felt a bit mean, actually, but at the same time quite funny. You've got to bear in mind this is done by parents who've been locked in a house with their children, and these children that were particularly used in this were teenagers, and I imagine are being fairly insufferable. Oh, right, that's a beep going on.
I'm going to go and check on some food.
I'll carry on. Sorry, we're doing this in the middle of cooking because actually I think we've decided that we want to just settle down with some wine and a film after this, so I'm getting it filmed now, but it does mean he's got to go and check on the cooking, so excuse me. But yeah, these particular kids did look like somewhat surly teenagers. Their parent, I'm not sure if it was mum or dad, but their parent basically told them that they'd had an email to say that schools were open again, so got them up, got them in their uniforms, got them out of the house and into the car to drive them to school, and then told them that it was all an April Fool's, and they looked thoroughly miserable. which was quite mean, but was quite funny. So yeah, I think that's about the level of it. I think a few people did sort of put out appeals saying, guys, this year, please do not pull the usual pregnancy things. That's a usual, like, sort of like, we don't need any sort of big like, well, that's all. I always hate that one. I think it's a really insensitive joke to make. I'm like, hey, I'm pregnant. No, I'm not. I'm only joking. Yeah, don't do that anyway. But yeah, this year I think quite a lot of people were sort of preemptively the day before saying, guys, let's not fuck around. This year is already enough of a shit show that let's not like pull mean pranks on each other. And I kind of think like I'm down with it. Yeah, so yeah, there weren't many, and the ones that were like I say, by long suffering parents having a tough time in lockdown.
I've
with
missed
teenagers.
you explaining that now. So
I'll tell him later.
I'm actually gonna have to watch this. I was gonna say, but no, you can just tell me later.
Oh yeah, no, I watch this because also whenever I have to come and like do a little blurb and like sort of upload it, don't remember anything that I've said. Never remember anything that we've said.
I remember my bits. Her bits are forgettable. I will agree. We had a nice video chat with my family.
We did, yeah, that was really lovely because we've never done that before, and actually we probably should have been because we don't see them very often because they live a long way away, and so maybe this will be a new thing that we do. We've
talked about it before how I'm not sure who it's worse for really, because my family are the other side of the country, so I can't go and see them. Ellie's family around the corner, but because of social isolating, she still can't really see them. So I don't know what's worse, but it's very nice to see them. It is odd. It's lovely to see them. It's hard sometimes seeing people and wishing you could give them a hug or be there for them a bit more, or help them out in more practical ways, but it was very nice to see.
It was really nice. It was, I think maybe even after all this is over in that imaginary scenario, hopefully that's something that maybe we'll keep up. For like maybe nice. Just like a little weekly FaceTime. Whoever's free, we'll just sort of have a little check-in with each other because that's a nice habit to get into, I think, maybe.
The other thing is because I was doing that virtual kind of stand-up comedy new material night last night. Something I've noted, this is just complete, I don't know if I mentioned it last night on the vlog, but by complete chance, about a month before this happened, I bought a tripod.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just allowed us to kind of sit a phone on a tripod, point it at ourselves, and just frame. We don't have to hold a phone up, we don't have to balance it on a book, we don't have to sit at the laptop.
Guaranteed if we tried to balance this on something, a Lucy tail would walk past and knock it off, and that looks less than professional, doesn't it? Not that this looks professional.
So when I've been doing sort of group chats and things, and because we've been doing this as well, which is, I don't want to in any way allude to the idea of me thinking this looks in any way professional. It's still two people on a sofa and
yeah, we could have at least hung those pictures, couldn't we?
Yeah, maybe, but
hidden the cat tree.
But look, it's. I slightly, when I'm doing a group chat with people, I slightly think, yeah, I've framed this.
I framed this well.
I look more professional than the other people do. The lighting's pretty good, so... Find
the pride wherever you can find it right now.
Small victories,
yeah, small victories. Yeah, definitely.
Cheers.
So going sort of back to sort of general, well, actually I will go into sort of, like I said, been a bit emotional today. So I've tried to like self-care it out of me. So I did, after I had a little bit of a wobble in the afternoon, I was like, right, I'm going to have a nice long soak in the bath. I'm going to like repurple my hair, gave myself a facial. All of that was all very well and good. And then when I got up and out of the bath and went to the shop, I then nearly cried again. Because it was like I was doing all the right things, but yeah, I just think I went to the shop, and it was weird. It all looked different, which like is like it's fine. They've done good things. They've marked out all the floor, sort of to just give you guidelines of how far 2 meters is, so that you can sort of use that as a guide. And there's big sort of perspex shields around the tills, except for where you put your stuff. But yeah, just the atmosphere in there was very tense. Again, it was very well stocked. It was, we couldn't get certain things that we wanted, but there were other alternatives. So as long as you could be flexible, it was okay. But yeah, it was sort of just, putting my stuff on the sort of checkout, and then she was like, yeah, now you have to step back so that I can scan it. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. And it sort of just feels a bit alien and feels a bit dystopian, and like I don't know the rules anymore.
We literally haven't been shopping since all this began, have we? So it's all very new to us.
Yeah, well, we had, this was my, and I had been yesterday into the Sunny Express, which is like a little corner shop, but this one's a slightly larger Tesco Express. And it just sort of felt, it was a bit uncanny valley. It was like, oh, I know this place, but it's different and it's weird. And it felt tense. And it felt just like everybody was sort of, there weren't many people there. But just having to be aware of, like, because the lady before me in the queue, she, the lady behind the till sort of went, oh, I'm free. And she was like, oh, no, I'm using cash, so I have to use the self-checkout, but thank you. And just sort of that level of thinking about everything, which I'm glad people are, but it just feels a bit sort of, because I've been here locked in for the last week, and I'd been fairly isolated for a little while before then, just felt a bit unfamiliar and uncomfortable. So I came back having a bit of a wobble. And again, like I say, that is over nothing. Like that is not how, that is not a legitimate reason to get tearful. But I sort of then, doing what I do, had a little message with a few friends. I was just like, guys, I'm crying over nothing. And a few of them were very good and also kind of went, yes, you're probably not really crying over the specific thing that made you cry, though. We're all feeling it, and there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of pressure. And so all it takes is a tiny little stimulus to then it all sort of leaks out. And I think that's what's been happening today. So whereas the last few days I've been like, hey guys, I think we're getting into the swing of this. Today it's gone like, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what I should be. Everything's mad. So yeah, today was a weird one. Hopefully I just have a wobble today and then I'll be back on an even keel tomorrow.
And
but
I had a weird time going to the shop, and for me it was very weird not being able to go to the shop still.
Yeah, because you do like
you
like to be able to sort of go and see what's there and sort of plan a meal around it, and
because I do most of the cooking, I can tell Ellie what I'd like, but if she can't get that, she's got to kind of get. And
also, I don't eat meat, and some of your requests were meat based, and I'm sort of there, and I was standing there like looking at, like, I was going, well, there's 3 different types of pork and I don't know which one is the most, because they didn't have the one that he wanted, so I was like, well, which one's the most like that? And I used to eat meat, but I've forgotten all this stuff, and it was just a bit unfamiliar and weird. And yeah, I do feel bad, because like, you probably don't need to be self-isolating, because I probably just had a cough, but we're being good, we're sort of, like I say, following all the rules, but because I had a cough, he can't go shopping. I'd much rather you go shopping. I don't want to
go. Because when you're doing most of the cooking, which I'm not complaining about, I enjoy doing the cooking, but if you are trying to make substitutions, or it's easier if you can be the one who goes to buy the stuff and can see what isn't there and what you're trying
I normally do the big online monthly sort of, well, it's not monthly, it's more frequent than that, but the big online shop, which I'll do on the computer and like
get some
essentials, and Chris can pipe up with anything he needs and I'll order them, and then if they don't come, it's not my fault, because I say no substitutions. Because once I ordered, like, it was mad, I ordered The Walking Dead on DVD because I was going to give it to someone as a gift, and so they sent, they didn't have it, so they sent like series 2 of Heroes. I was like,
same. That's the same.
I like, surely use your noggin, like substitution on, but like I'm not.
What, is your friend going to be ungrateful about it?
Well, it was weird. It was just an odd choice. So I sort of after that I kind of just went no. So also I'm vegan, which, like I'd mentioned, as we do. But yeah, like a couple of times I'd sort of ordered like specifically like tofurkey chicken style pieces, and they didn't have them, so they sent chicken, and I was just like, no, people who eat that probably don't eat that. Like, that's not how that goes. So again, it was just a bit of a lack of common sense going on the substitution. So I've said no to them. But at least then it's their fault if something you want doesn't come, because I think that's what caused the third cry today, was that I felt I'd let you down because I didn't get the right pork.
I'm sorry.
But this is what I mean. Like, that's not something. I'm not somebody who cries a lot, actually. Like, I kind of keep my shit together usually. I literally, how many times have you seen me cry? We've been dating like a year, and probably like twice?
No,
3?
4 times?
4. In a year. That's not bad. And yeah, like 3 times today. Not that I let you see 2 of them, but still. Like, yeah, I think it's just sort of a sign that like things are a bit heightened and a bit mad, and So yeah, hopefully tomorrow I'll be back.
Everyone's going to be having ups and downs.
Yeah,
so.
and I think it's important to talk about them as well, because I'm not the only one who's having an odd day. I'm sure, and there'll be other days when I'm doing great and somebody else is having a wobble, and I'm not judging anybody else on their wobbles. So I think it's important that I'm honest about mine, even though I don't like to cry and I don't like people to see me cry. It's bullshit.
Lighter news, so
yep.
We're running out of time, but a lot of people have been doing a lot of things to kind of provide entertainment in new and exciting ways, whether that be individuals performing from their sofas or bigger companies. And if you're looking for stuff to do, two things I wanted to plug is the How Lazy Is He Comedy Night. They've got their own Facebook page. They have been streaming specials that have been starting with ones that have been recorded at their club, and they might expand beyond that, I'm not sure. But so they've got Laura Monmouth this weekend. Check out their Facebook page for details. It's How Lazy Is He is the name of the comedy club.
And there's a suggested donation, isn't there? To
yes, you can buy like a virtual ticket which helps support the acts and the running of the club. And so do check that out. That's going to be great. I'm going to be looking into that again. And another thing that I found out, you might have already heard of it, is the National Theatre.
Oh, yes.
They've filmed some plays. Again, prior to any of this happening, they had these films of these plays, and they're going to be putting those out on YouTube so you can watch them. And so if you fancy something a bit different, stick a play on YouTube on your telly, and it's going to be great.
They used to do, well, they have done it previously, and what they've done is they've live streamed it, or they've streamed it out to, I don't know if it's been live, to various cinemas across the country. So you can go watch it like one night only kind of thing, and you obviously pay your ticket price, but as a cinema ticket. I'm assuming they're ones that have been filmed as part of that sort of incentive, that they're now going, hey guys, people can't go to the theatre and we kind of want to give people some stuff to do. I've been to see a couple of them. I saw the National Theatre do Macbeth and also Frankenstein with Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller, and it was fantastic. So I went to see that in the cinema, so I can vouch for the fact that they will be really, really high quality and amazing. So the fact that you can watch them on YouTube in your pants on your sofa, I highly recommend. I will be doing that, and not just for ones including Benedict Cumberbatch.
Don't know why, because she normally wears her clothes, so she'll be deliberately stripping down to her pants for this.
For Benedict Cumberbatch, I would.
Good to know. And,
he doesn't want to come, Babs. He's trying to get the cat to come up again.
A star.
And he is such a lovely coochie cat normally, but he is camera shy, it seems.
Doesn't want to be a star.
No.
But there are a variety of titles. There's some Shakespeare or other, Jane Eyre.
Some Shakespeare or
some
other.
of that Shakespeare shit. 1am. And there's also Two Man, One Governors.
One Man, Two Governors.
Close enough. That's the first. I think they're putting out one a week, maybe, or one a day. I'm not sure, but they're going to be available to watch for each.
Yeah, so you don't have to watch them live. You've got a while.
But the first one is going to be One Man, Two Governors, which is an acclaimed farce.
It got very, very good reviews. I remember at the time.
Farce is actually a very difficult genre of comedy to get right.
Yeah, it can be.
And it's, I mean, good examples is Fawlty Towers do it incredibly well. And there's a couple of really classic episodes of Frasier that do a really good job of it.
Oh God, they really are actually. Yeah. Maybe we should rewatch Frasier. So it's good.
Yeah, it's not a genre you see a lot of these days. It's a bit unfashionable, maybe, but it is really good. So I'm looking forward to checking that one out. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, no, we definitely will. I've just realised looking at the screen that I think I have a maximum file size tonight, so I need to be even more strict, because the other day when we did this, we got to the maximum and it kicked us off. So we will not go over 30 minutes and 34 seconds tonight, so just so you know. He's trying to get the cat. The cat is not happy about it, but there he is. This is Ford. Hello, Bab. He is a lovely Bab. So I think we'll probably just about draw that to. He doesn't want to be there, but
there you go.
Oh God, the cats must be so sick of our shit now. The dog is loving this. We're always here and it's great. The cat's less so.
I think Lucy is starting to take me for granted.
Yeah, every time you get up, she's like, "Hey, walk."
Yeah, she thinks every time I get up, I'm going to take her for a walk. And she should just not expect it. She should just be surprised and delighted when it happens.
Yeah, she does take you for granted, as do we all. But yes, so I think that is us coming to a close. So yeah, we will see you back tomorrow when hopefully I won't be a tearful snotty mess. Hopefully. Or it could be worse. That's how this is going. So we'll see. Chris will be even hairier, but only here, I imagine. And we'll see how we're going. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, that sounds like that's the timer.
That's the timer on the oven, so that is perfect time to leave. So thank you very much, guys. We will see you again tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.